Yo guys, hey, welcome to Coast Connection down here at the Rack Studio down in Tampa, Florida. I'm down here with my boy Mike G. The weather's a little nippy. What's up, Mike? And we got Wendy Fortino on, Miss IFBB and a female bodybuilder. And we're on to talk today about fitness, talk about, dedication. And the one thing they always say, get up at 3 in the morning and get after it. So Wendy, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Hey, so where are you located?
I'm in Oceanside, California, really fast. I think it's funny you said wake up at 3 a.m. I actually woke up in the middle of the night. I usually wake up at like 6, but it's just funny that you said that because I did wake up at 3 a.m., but I went back to sleep, so I don't know if that counts.
That's a total Mike G thing. Mike hit the
snooze. Does that count?
Does it count, Mike?
No, that doesn't count. Oh,
you woke up. I mean, hey.
Hey, so Wendy, I know, and I follow you. So I follow you on your Instagram. I follow you on Facebook, and I read a lot of the things that you got going on. Before we get any further, let me ask you this major thing. Hey guys, Vince here. Hey, if you're looking for a good home mortgage and somebody that's going to work with you, call Rack. They're always on point. They're great with veterans. They're great with anybody that's had some challenges in their past. So if you're looking for a home mortgage, call Rack. Residential Acceptance Corps. Awesome group. The number's below. Talk to you later. And then they sponsor and support Embrace the Power. Later. Wendy, we were talking about Corey Emerson and all the female Olympians that came before you. So when did you get into female bodybuilding and figure? Because there's different categories. So if you can kind of give us a history, that'll help us out.
Right. I actually kind of got to know some of the trailblazers after I started because it was kind of an accident that I started competing. I used to be a gymnast, and then I was a track athlete, and I was training in 2008. I was training for the Olympic trials in the 800, and I didn't really. Yeah, I was a track athlete. And I honestly didn't know anything about bodybuilding, but I started dating Matt. He's my husband now. And he was actually preparing for a bodybuilding show. And he actually came to some of my track meets when we first got together. And I, knew he was preparing for bodybuilding. To me at the time, it was kind of weird. He, all his Tupperwares and, I was, but the thing is that he had his thing and I had my thing. And we were both really supportive. I always think it's attractive when a guy has like ambition, is like doing something, and it was just kind of, I guess it was kind of like a turn on that he had his own thing that he was focusing on. But like a month and a half before the Olympic trials, I got a stress fracture in my foot, and I was so bummed out about it. And I remember calling Matt, after I found out that I had a stress fracture. I'm sorry, my eye waters. It's really annoying.
That's all right.
And I was so bummed out and I was crying and he just said, like, he was a personal trainer at a personal training studio. And he's like, come to the gym. Let me put you through a workout, get your mind off of things. And I went to the gym where he trained, and, some of the like bodybuilders in the gym were like, you need to have her jump in the show. She looks like, she has a good structure for it or whatever. Right. I was already lean because I've been an athlete my whole life, like since I was 7 years old. I never really got out of shape or anything like that. So I just, I didn't really take the diet seriously. I'm going to be honest.
Is it chocolate is the issue?
I was like, the diet was more of a suggestion. I was used to being able to eat whatever I wanted and get away with it because I burned a lot of calories and I trained hard all the time. So I just was like, but I did add a lot more protein to my diet, which actually I remember thinking, God, I wish I would have been eating more protein while I was training. I probably would have had faster times. I remember going through this aha moment while I was eating more for bodybuilding, thinking, God, this actually is really fueling my workouts. This is really making me feel stronger. What have I been doing this whole time? Like I've been doing it all wrong. And so I was kind of learning about myself, even though I wasn't following my diet perfectly. I was still kind of learning. And when I did my first show, I did figure. There was only figure, bodybuilding, or fitness.
That's
right?
Correct. That's correct.
And so I did figure, and I won the overall on my first show. And I remember like, okay, well, maybe this is something that I'm kind of good at. And like an idiot, once my foot was healed, I thought, now, well, I used to be a gymnast. Let me do fitness now, and, it was cool because I had gotten a job. I was managing all the fitness facilities at Stanford University, and
Wow.
the assistant gymnastics coach there, I talked to him about what I was doing, and he actually helped me get some of my gymnastics skills back. And so I'd go into the gym and I would train, get some of my gymnastics skills back. And I did compete in fitness once, and I won. I did really well, but I just thought I realized it probably wasn't the smartest transition since I was, got injured a lot, and I did get multiple stress fractures while I was in track. It's always like kind of when you're in a performance sport, you're always trying to dance that line, like you're training as
Yes.
hard as you possibly can without getting you always want to like dance that fine line, because if you can train hard enough to where you're just about to get injured, that's going to be like your best performance, right?
Yes.
That's like the game that you play as a performance athlete. You're always trying to just push that envelope just enough. And I realized like maybe I'm ready for a new chapter. And like I said, the only thing that I had available to me was figure. I would have probably wanted to try bikini, because I didn't think I would have probably, when I first started, I probably would have wanted that look, but I didn't have any option.
Right. Well, it's
Um,
changed. It's changed over time. I mean, I
yeah,
watched when the '90s when it first started, and they had fitness, figure, and then and then it was all out, overall. And then I watched it as is evolved over the last couple of years.
yeah.
So let me ask you a question: are you originally from Cali, or and what school did you go to? What university?
I'm originally from California. Out of high school, I didn't have any track coach or anything. I coached myself. And so I did get a scholarship for a D2 college, Cal State Stanislaus. And my
Yes.
coach there actually was awesome. And I remember I was 17 years old as a college freshman, and just with a little bit of coaching, by the time I was done with I turned 18 in my freshman year in college, and my time for the 800, if I had run that time as a senior in high school, I would have just like killed it with like
State
getting,
records.
you know what I mean? But it was okay, because it doesn't really matter, it doesn't really matter where you go to college. I mean, I guess it does. It probably would have pushed me if I could have had more competition early on, and I could have been like at a D1 college. But I really enjoyed my college experience. I had a really, really humble beginnings, and it allowed me to get a lot of attention from my coach, allowed me to really thrive and do really well. And then after college, I started running professionally for ASICS with ASICS Aggies.
Oh
And that
yes.
was, what was that?
Oh yes, because Asics was the show back in the day, man. It was them,
Yeah.
and then Nike had their team, and the girls out of LSU were going with some of them were Asics, some were Adidas. I remember
Yeah.
it all because that used to be a big deal.
Yes, it was really, I mean, it was exciting. And so they were stationed out of San Luis Obispo, and it just so happened that Cal Poly San Luis Obispo and Chico State both had the best graduate programs for exercise physiology. And it was like the universe is just speaking to me, right? So I applied for the exercise physiology master's program at Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo. I got in, and it was like amazing. And then I put myself through college and grad school, and I worked my ass off to do it. And it was cool because I also I ended up being an RA in grad school, so I had my room and board paid for. And then I was going to grad school, and then I was ready for ASICS, and then I was teaching classes, as a graduate student. And so I was assistant professor as a graduate student. You could do that,
That's right. Oh yeah, I got 2 masters, and I taught at Georgia
You know
Southern.
about that then?
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was an exciting time, it was really cool. I worked out all the details, and I made it work, and I had a really good experience there.
Yeah,
And then I
so
guess, yeah.
so I noticed, but one thing I was going to ask you is, you made some and I didn't mean to cut you off. I apologize. You
No,
made
no, no.
some major transitions because and Mike's throwing up some of your modeling right now. So what is, for people that want to kind of get into what you're doing now and young women see it. So what some of the myths are, you don't want to take the protein, you don't want to get big, girls with muscles are bad. I totally disagree with all of those myths. So, can we do a little myth debunking right now? And why is it important for women why women should look at, lifting weights? Because I do yoga now. So, I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm a anomaly in that I am a mesomorph. I build muscle easily, but that is not the norm for women. And I've been training for a long time. And I mean, this is it. I mean, I'm not like crazy, but I mean, I guess to some people, maybe I am, but I don't but I've been doing this for a long time. Like, it takes a long time to build muscle for women, Another thing to think about is everything consists of amino acids, your hair, your nails, your skin, your muscle fibers, every tissue in your body consists of amino acids. So if you're not getting enough exogenous amino acids from whole food protein sources, right? You're not assisting your body to regenerate everything from head to toe. And I know women care about their hair, their skin, their nails. And when you're not getting the proper nutrition, you're not staying, youthful and maintaining your collagen production and, all the things that women are, care about. That also is a huge part of it. And just getting getting exercise is something for your whole body. You have to be so dedicated and put so much time into it in order to build the kind of muscle that it takes to be competitive. But every woman will just improve her body and her shape and her beauty by exercise, by lifting weights.
Yes. All right, so let me ask you this. Do you still do your podcast? I saw you had a podcast with a bunch of women and you guys were sitting around and you're hitting different topics. I thought it was pretty good. But
yes, thank you.
So are you guys still doing that, or is it still, rocking and rolling?
Oh yeah. So, the Olympia actually was bought by Jake Wood, who owns Wings of Strength. So Wings of Strength, aka the Olympia headquarters, is stationed in Arizona. And I was given this awesome opportunity to go and film for this. It was kind of like a new idea that they had. They were going to film this kind of like roundtable discussion style talk show in their studio. And they invited me to be a part of this. And this was, last year, like in the middle of the year, we tried it out. And you somebody who follows like a little bit of the history, probably Linda Murray. She's 8-time Miss Olympia.
Oh yeah, yes, yes, Linda rocked it. Yes.
So she originally asked me to kind of come, and they want to see kind of how I was with her and like a couple of other hosts. And so it's me and her and Whitney Jones, who is 3-time Miss Fitness Olympia. And then Camille Perriat, she's a bikini pro. And now she's retired and she judges and stuff like that. She owns a gym out in Santa Cruz. And the four of us, we just had the best chemistry. And we kind of just got this whole thing started. And it was a talk show housed under the like Wings of Strength YouTube channel, but we just transitioned and launched the show on the Olympia TV YouTube channel. And so it's fairly new, but it's really cool because we're going to be filming all year, and we're going to provide an episode every Friday. Will be launched on the Olympia TV.
The grind.
So it's kind of exciting because it's like I feel like I'm a part of this movement, we talk about these issues that just are not being talked about right now, and it's something new and exciting. So I'm glad you saw some of those clips.
Oh no, I did. I actually watched it. Hey Mike, you got anything while you're over there grinning and smiling over there?
I want to know, did you have to reach a milestone to keep on training every day to where you're at? Because you're built, but your model's built. You're not like, I've seen a lot of bigger women, like, what the fuck? So you're built, but your model built. And so are you in a different division? And did you have to reach a milestone before now it's an everyday thing? You live it, you breathe it.
That's a really good question, because I will say that even though I've been an athlete my whole life, when I first started competing, it was hard for me because all of a sudden, when I wasn't like contest prepping, I would, want everything under the sun, like cake, cookies, like all this kind of stuff, like stuff that I never really even wanted to eat before. But it was like my mind was like, oh my God, like when am I going to have this stuff again? And I struggled a lot more to find like some kind of like balance where I didn't feel like this extremes one way or another. So it has taken me time, but now I'm in a place where I do feel like it's a lot easier for me to maintain consistency. It's so much more part of my life. And so it takes time for everybody, but I think the best advice I would give is, the sport of bodybuilding, it is an extreme sport, and it's not for everyone,
Oh yeah, it is not for everybody.
but
No.
but the comparison I will say is I'm 5 feet tall. Okay. I'm never going to be a professional basketball player. And it's the same thing, right? I mean, I'm naturally a lean person. So the bodybuilding sport it caters to my genetics and what I am good at. And we all have something that we're good at, and with the sport, like just blowing up, it's awesome because it allows for so many different people to join in and do it. But at the higher levels, it's like a lot of people are willing to go to extremes and do things that are unhealthy. I'm not one of those people, but a lot of people do. And it's really unfortunate, because it's like fighting your genetics and doing extreme things is something that I just don't think that, that's healthy or that's a good idea. So if it's not for you, like if bodybuilding, if training, competing in a sport like bodybuilding is not for you, I would say find something that motivates you,
Right.
that keeps you consistent, because it's hard for everybody to stay consistent and to stay motivated. So to have something to shoot for all the time, so that you can, does that kind of make sense?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. It's like the military. I tell you, it's not for everybody. And
Right.
because the hours, the commitment, mental toughness, and I used to tell everyone is that when I'm in the 80s, everybody was on steroids in the gym when I was
Yeah.
growing up. So everybody goes, why didn't you keep playing ball and doing all these things in the 80s that you could have been doing? Because it became a transition point. Is that because before drug testing came around, you had to make a decision whether you're gonna to compete and take steroids or whatever, growth hormones, or you're going to walk away from the sport. Well, it was easier to walk away and keep my health later down the line. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So as you've transitioned and done this, the bodybuilding thing, so I think modeling is, I modeled back in the day, but I think modeling is harder than working out in the gym sometimes. So how's your modeling career coming along?
It's funny that you say that because like sometimes I'll have a shoot scheduled, and like the morning of, I'll wake up and I'm like, I'll tell Matt, you know what? I don't have to do this shoot. Like maybe because I don't maybe I can like reschedule, or maybe they, and I was like, you committed to this, you've got to do it, and I'm like, and it's funny because it is.
It's hard work. One of my students saw my photo
Yes,
and it
but
says,
but when you see the end result, sometimes I don't, which is unfortunate. Like I'll have like a really awesome shoot, and maybe it's a trade or something. I like never see the shots, and it kind of stinks. But like I just did one in Vegas that I thought was great, but I haven't seen the shots. I mean, I don't know what the photographer is planning to do with them, and that kind of stinks. Like, because I'd like to see them, but
yeah.
and
So
I
how much
was
traveling you doing right now?
I travel at least once a month to Arizona to do the filming for our talk show. And then, for various shows, we travel around. We used to travel to a lot more contests, but now since we moved to Southern California from Northern California, there's like a series of contests from that Muscle Contest hosts here in Southern California. So we try to get, like, if athletes want, because we train people internationally, so there's a lot of contests in other countries even that we're not physically able to go to, so we coach remotely. But anyone who we try to get them to the shows that are near to us, and that's really cool. So there's like probably a handful of shows throughout the year that we're able to get people to come, more local to us. And then we travel, sometimes. I'm hoping I don't have to travel too much this season. If I can qualify for the Olympia early or locally, that would be great. But sometimes you never know. You
It
gotta
is
keep
what
on.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you got the Venice Beach, you have the different opens in LA. One thing about being in LA, even back in the 80s and early 90s when I was out there in the 80s, there were
Oh,
so
you
many.
were?
Yeah. Because I used to, my family's from Altadena, my mom's
Okay.
side. They all live in Altadena. So when I was there, everybody would go to the Venice Beach Open, then they'd have and before everything became the Arnold Classic. It was just like every little city had an open over, so the bodybuilders, you would just see them all the time. And I would go down to Venice Beach and work out and felt totally inferior because I was probably about this big and everybody else was like swole, and I was like, man, look
you
at these
feel
guys.
that way, but it's not that way. It's probably body dysmorphia. Like everybody in the sport has body dysmorphia.
That's that's a great term. That's absolutely right. So
guys never feel big enough, and women always feel too big.
So let me ask you a question. So what advice are you going to give? Would you give to anybody that's in high school? So I'm wondering, do you talk to high school students? Do you do a lot of public speaking about bodybuilding?
I used to. I would like to do more. I've given speeches to, and I've been able to speak to younger athletes and students, which I love doing that. So you just reminded me I want to get back to doing that. But I think that it's for me. Like I like to explain to connect to youth, like my story and my struggles. And the main thing that I think we go through, especially, athletes, like you understand this as an athlete, you to get to the top of anything that you want, people only see that top as being something that they want. But what people don't see is how many ups and downs you have to go through to get there, and any champion could attest to the fact that you have felt that like gut-wrenching feeling, that feeling of defeat and discouragement way more than you have felt that feeling of elation, where you feel like you won and you feel victorious. That is such a smaller percentage of how you experience getting to the level that you want to get to. And that's something that we learn. A lot of times athletes learn it early on when they're younger. In this sport, it's really interesting because a lot of people have, who are tried bodybuilding older, sometimes they have never been an athlete. They're experiencing all that for the first time, like the defeats and the, how to handle it, how to handle winning, how to handle losing, how to get, through all those trials and tribulations. There's like a lot of adults now who are experiencing that for the first time. And it's always fascinating to me to see how adults handle that when they haven't gone through it. But if you're younger and you're an athlete, it's like the best opportunity to really, truly become a champion, to really experience what you need to go through in order to get to where you want to be. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, it makes sense. And one of the things that I'm glad you're out here, you brought that up, is because I've met over the time in bodybuilding and in fitness, is the weirdest thing is I've met so many women that come from either a divorce or a situation, a traumatic situation, regardless of what it is. And it's ironic that they pick like bodybuilding or they pick fitness and they get into it. And it's like they throw themselves 100% into it. I can't tell you the amount of conversations I've had just talking to women about, I was in this relationship, I got out, and then, and they were like 170 pounds, 180 pounds. And you see this person now, and then they post their pictures online and you just go, and it just kind of tell you about the mental and the human psychic of you're in a place here, and then you look at yourself like 20 years later, you go, what was I thinking? And David Goggins is the poster child of this. But, but just to see the amount of women that go through those transformations. So you deal with those women on a regular basis, the ones that self-esteem has been torn down. They're trying to rebuild it, even some men. And so how do you get those people over the hump of that get to that mental toughness to where they see the good inside themselves that they couldn't see because it was covered up with layers of just shit, it's just stuff they've been dealing with.
Oh yeah, that's easy. It's not easy to do, but it's easy to explain, which is that, when you don't feel good about yourself, you're going to look at all the negatives around you more, right? When you feel good about yourself, when you get yourself in a place where you are thriving, I always say, like, success is always the best revenge. So if I mean, isn't it?
It is.
You can't, I mean, you can't focus on anything negative when you're too focused on your own success. And when you start feeling good about yourself, it's like some of that stuff that you think is such a big deal, it just starts to matter so much less. You know, I think that it's almost like a disease, right? When it's like a virus. When somebody is unhappy with themselves, they don't feel like they're the best version of themselves, they don't feel good about how they look, they don't feel good about how they feel. Suddenly our minds have so much extra space reserved for, you know, kind of mauling in that negative space. So the only way to get out of that is to improve yourself. The only way to get out of that is to feel good about how you look, to feel good about how you feel. And it sounds so simple, but it's 100% success rate with this strategy, I'm telling you.
Oh yeah. Oh no, it is documented, and the facts have known that they've shown people that have come from traumatic situations, when they go get in shape and they put their energy into, like, in the morning, going and getting their fitness done, good eating, stop drinking, and clean up their life, try to clean their life up, is that their life takes a different direction. And I, you know, there are about 3 motivational speakers I listen to on a regular basis. They say, look, I was here. I did this for a year and my life is here. And it's weird how your life changed because you start looking at things from a different perspective.
It's true.
So
like
what advice would you have long term if you had to leave your imprint on this earth? What would your comments be?
Oh my goodness, that's a big one. What imprint would I leave? Like what's my legacy?
Oh yeah, what's that legacy?
Well, I would say that that without that, if as long as you have passion, you will always have success, right? If passion doesn't die, then your success never will. If you lose passion in something, then you have to change directions, or you have to generate passion in what you decide that you're going to be stubborn and stick to. And I think that is pretty key to anything. And I mean, I'm sure you guys have experienced this before, but even in things that I have been super passionate about, there's times when I like dip down and I have to have that real conversation with myself. Do you want to keep going down this path? And if the answer is yes, then I have to figure out some way to rework the way that I'm doing it so that I have the passion and the excitement to wake up in the morning, excited to take on that day and do what I decided. I'm so stubborn that I want to do it. If I really ask myself that and I have a conversation and I go, you know what? I actually don't know if I want to keep doing this, then I have to stop it and I have to figure out what else I need to do. And you have to figure that out and you have to be passionate about it. And I think that's probably the key to success in anything. I mean, if you decided that you want to do this podcast, but it was like you woke up and you're just not looking forward to it, and you're like, oh, I guess I'll just to like put it on, you know, check it off my schedule and like put it on. If you weren't excited about it, well, then you won't put the same effort into it. You put the same, you know, it wouldn't be as good as it otherwise would be. But because you woke up and you're excited to do this podcast, right, with me, I mean, of course.
Hey, you know, look, hey, I got the bonus plan today.
I mean, right? No,
you know what I'm saying? You know what they go? You know what I'm saying?
I'm just kidding. No, but you know what I'm saying. You have to have that. So I guess that would be what I would say.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you ask people to shape the world, and I will tell you, what I see the world at 20, what I see at 57 now, it's totally different. It is. Oh my goodness, it's so different.
Tell me.
You know, yeah. And you know what? I'm glad the mistakes I made, they were well deserved because I know not to go back and make them again.
So, can you elaborate or no? Is this supposed to be strictly about me, or can we?
No, yeah, I can elaborate. I can elaborate. Honestly, you know, I saw my mom have some struggles back early, okay. And then I realized that some of the things, you know, that my dad was kind of over the top a little bit, and they got divorced. And I saw her struggles. And then, as I got older, I took some of that baggage into like relationships, into the way I predicated things. I thought, I had to have all this. And then ironically, I ran into an older person while I was in college, and he changed my life. He's a history teacher. And he said, you can break generational brokenness. You can break this and break that. He goes, but you have to stop and breathe, pause, look at why your problems are what they are, and then change direction. So actually, when I was in college, when I quit playing sports, I put on probably, I was like at the time, I was probably about 180 kind of gut. One morning I woke up, I said, never again. And I started running. And probably 7 months later, I lost all the weight. I was shredded. And I just had a different attitude. And after that, I said every morning I started getting up at 3 a.m. And I've kept that habit.
3 a.m.
Entire life. Kept that habit.
Awesome.
Because it changed my life. And I tell Dr. Thomas all the time, he's in his 80s now, 70s now. I was telling him, dude, if it wasn't for you, you changed my life, bro.
That's
a history
so awesome.
teacher.
Oh my God. I bet that means so much to your teacher.
Oh, it does.
I have to ask this though. 3 a.m. Okay, 3 a.m. What time do you go to bed?
All right, so it varies. So, and people always ask me that question. So sometimes I'll go to bed at 10. Sometimes if I can get in, I'll nod off at 8. But a lot of times it's about 10:30. So I get in at 10:30. I go to bed, get up at 3 in the morning, get to the gym, and I'll tell you, hey, Wendy, I get grouchy as hell. I get grouchy as hell if I don't go work out. And when I was sick the last 2 weeks, I was mad as hell.
Like Arnold Schwarzenegger said, you only need 5 hours of sleep or something. And someone was I need 8. And he says, sleep faster.
Sleep less because,
sleep faster.
And I take that to heart because I really look at the amount of time people waste binge watching TV, playing video games when they could be doing something productive. I have a bike at the house. I get on my Nordic track and I just roll. But I really believe that I try to figure out a way to always improve my life every day. And if you work out, that's one improvement that, every day. You know what I mean?
I could tell there's something just so awesome about your energy. You have you're the kind of person that is so fun and easy to be around because you just take everything, in stride. You don't sweat the small stuff and you just go with the flow. And it's so nice to be around that kind of energy because there's a lot of people, they get so stressed out over the smallest little things and everything's a big deal. I think that really says a lot about the approach to the way that you live your life. Is directly proportional to the way that you have your energy around you. And it's really fascinating to me. Human behavior is something that I always find very fascinating. So when somebody has this energy and then you find out how they operate, you're just like, well, yeah, that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I had 2 combat tours in Iraq. So, after 2 combat tours in Iraq. Let me tell you.
Oh my God, seriously?
So when people kind of come to me, I was in Ambar. Yeah. So I've seen the worst of mankind.
Okay, but the way that you came out of that and the way you have this aura about you, that's not the same for a lot of people. I mean,
no, it's not. Not a lot of my friends. No,
I would say the majority of people that came out of traumatic situations like that probably are not, not quite like that. So I think it's definitely says a lot about the way you came out of that and the way you handled it, the way you took charge of your energy. That's hard to do when you come out of something like that.
It is, and I tell everybody on the podcast all the time. I thank my mom because honestly, I believe my mom prepared me for what the hell I was going to see. Because I told everybody after we got done, I tell my mom all the time, love her to death, is that if it wasn't for her, because what I've seen her go through and survive, and it's still, my mom smiled every day. We had some bad situations growing up in our neighborhood. Some bad things happened. And you know what? And my mom the next day would hug us and smile. And you'd be like, you realize somebody died next door, right? And my mom would be like, you know what? Hey, we're here. We're still alive. Da 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 da. And you know what? It made me. She taught me resiliency, but she also taught me not to be a victim.
Right.
You know, not that, you know, you make mistakes, you get past them, and then you don't repeat the same mistakes. You know, that's the one thing I have to give. I have to give my mom love you all
That's
the time.
awesome.
Oh yeah. But
That's
Mike,
awesome.
you got anything before we get out of here, man?
It's great meeting you, Wendy. It's nice, and we have to see how your progress goes with your
Oh,
training and your competition. I appreciate that. I've been looking forward to it. I've been looking at your stuff. I'm like, wow, she's in shape.
oh,
And she's like a 4-time winner, you know. So I'm like, so it's pretty dope. I
thank
like
you
it. I
so
like
much,
it because
guys.
it's focus. You got to focus to do what you do. You know, you got to focus to
Yeah.
be the best, to be on the top. You got to be focused to be number one. You know.
Yeah,
So
we all have our thing,
congratulations
right?
and keep it moving. For real.
All right, I will.
All right. Hey, Wendy, it's been a blessing having you on the show. I know we were back and forth on our schedules because we're both busy, but I appreciate you taking the time and definitely want to get you back down the road here and maybe get a couple of the other ladies out here and let's just talk, you know, let's talk IFFB and MPC and all those things that rock and roll. So as me and Mike G always say when we have guests on the show from the Rack Studios in Tampa, Florida, we want to say keep it rolling.